Ever had that one neighbor who acts like they own the whole neighborhood? Well, I did, and when my packages started disappearing, I had a feeling I knew exactly who was behind it. At first, I thought it was a delivery mistake, but then I noticed a pattern. Only my expensive packages went missing. And the only person nosy enough to know what I was ordering? HOA Karen. So I set a trap. And let's just say, she never saw it coming. Like, subscribe, and drop a comment if you've ever dealt with a shady neighbor. It all started with a pair of sneakers. I had ordered them online, nothing fancy, just a nice new pair I had been looking forward to. The tracking said delivered, but when I checked my porch, nothing was there. At first, I thought maybe it got dropped off at the wrong house. It happens, right? I checked with my neighbors. Nobody had seen anything. I called the delivery company. They insisted it was left right on my porch. Weird. I let it go until it happened again. This time, it was a set of wireless earbuds. Same thing, marked as delivered. Not on my porch. Now I was getting suspicious. I started paying closer attention, and that's when I noticed the pattern. Small, cheap deliveries always arrived just fine. More expensive stuff vanished. And the worst part, my security camera didn't catch anything. I had an older doorbell cam, but the motion detection was hit or miss, and the one time I actually needed footage, the app showed nothing but static. That's when I started thinking about who might be behind it. And the first person who came to mind? Karen. She was the self-appointed neighborhood watch. She knew everything that happened on our street, who was getting landscaping done, who had guests over, even what people were having delivered. She had a bad habit of snooping around people's houses, always finding some ridiculous violation. One time, she sent me a warning letter for leaving my trash bins out an hour too long. Another time, she knocked on my door to tell me my grass was half an inch too tall. So if anyone knew what was coming to my house, it was her. But knowing she was the likely thief and proving it were two different things. So I decided to set a trap. And Karen had no idea what was coming. At this point, I was almost certain Karen was behind my disappearing packages. But if I wanted to catch her red-handed, I needed proof. And that meant setting up the perfect trap. I needed something that looked valuable, something Karen couldn't resist. So I got an empty box, stuffed it with crumpled paper, and sealed it up. Then I grabbed an old laptop box from my garage, one of those sleek, premium-looking packages, and put it inside. To really sell it, I printed out a fake shipping label from an expensive electronics store. I wanted Karen to think she had just hit the jackpot. My old doorbell camera had failed me before, so this time I borrowed a real security camera from my coworker. I placed it strategically behind a plant on my porch, giving me a clear shot of anyone who came up. Then I enabled motion alerts on my phone and waited. I placed the bait package right at my front door and sat back to watch. For the first few hours, nothing happened. I started second-guessing myself. What if it wasn't Karen? What if it was just some random porch pirate? But then, just as the sun was starting to set, she made her move. My phone buzzed, motion detected. I opened the live feed, and there she was, Karen. She wasn't even sneaky about it. No disguise, no hesitation. She strolled right up to my porch, looked around for a second, and then, boom, grabbed the package and walked off like she owned the place. I couldn't believe it. I had her face on camera, clear as day. And now, it was time for revenge. I had everything I needed. The security footage was crystal clear, Karen in broad daylight, waltzing up to my porch and swiping my package like she was picking up her morning newspaper. But here's the thing about HOA Karens, they never think they're wrong. Even when caught red-handed, they'll argue until their last breath. So I knew that simply showing her the footage wouldn't be enough. I needed to make this public. Our HOA had a community group chat where people usually complain about parking spaces, lawn care, and whose dog barked too much. I uploaded a screenshot from my security footage, a perfect shot of Karen, grinning as she swiped my package. Caption: anyone else missing packages? Looks like we found the culprit. Then I sat back and waited for the fireworks. It took about 5 minutes before the group chat exploded. Wait, is that Karen? OMG, I had a package go missing last week. That's straight up theft. Call the cops. She better have an explanation for this. At this point, Karen was radio silent. Not a single peep from her. So I decided to give her a little push. I knocked on her door. When she answered, her face dropped. She knew. "Hey, Karen," I said, holding up my phone. "Recognize this?" She glanced at the security footage, then scoffed. "Oh, please. I was just keeping it safe for you." "You should be thanking me." I almost laughed. "Really? Then why didn't you tell me? Or return it?" She crossed her arms. "I was going to, but I had to inspect it first. We can't have people getting unsafe deliveries." "Ah, yes. Karen, the self-appointed package inspector." "Right. So if I check your house right now, I'll find my package." She paused. "Well, I was going to bring it over later." That's when I dropped the bombshell. Too late, Karen. The whole neighborhood already saw the footage. Her face went pale. I turned my phone toward her, scrolling through the HOA group chat. Dozens of angry messages. People furious that she had been stealing. Just as Karen was fumbling for an excuse, her phone buzzed. I knew exactly what that was. The HOA president had just seen the footage. And I wasn't done yet. "I go check your messages, Karen," I said with a smirk. "Pretty sure the HOA board is calling an emergency meeting about this." She slammed the door in my face. And that's when I knew Karen was finished. After Karen slammed the door in my face, I knew she was panicking. And for good reason, the HOA chat was blowing up, and now the HOA president was involved. I didn't have to wait long. Less than an hour later, an official HOA email went out. Emergency HOA meeting, theft incident to be discussed. Oh, this was going to be good. The next evening, the HOA meeting was packed. Normally, these meetings were boring as hell, with maybe 5 people showing up to complain about fence colors. Not this time. People filled the room, whispering to each other, staring at Karen as she sat in the front row, arms crossed, looking furious. The HOA president, Mr. Callahan, stood up. "We have a serious matter to discuss. Several packages have gone missing, and we now have video evidence of a board member committing theft." All eyes turned to Karen. She huffed and rolled her eyes. "Oh, please. This is ridiculous. I was keeping it safe. I planned to return it." That's when I stood up and held up my phone. "Well, Karen, funny thing, you never returned anything. And the only packages that ever went missing were expensive ones." "Care to explain that?" Karen's face turned bright red. "How dare you accuse me?" But I wasn't alone. One by one, other homeowners started speaking up. "I had an expensive package disappear last month. Karen, you personally told me my package never arrived. But it was marked delivered. If you were just keeping them safe, why didn't you ever tell anyone?" Karen's jaw tightened. She looked like she was about to explode. Then, Mr. Callahan dropped the hammer. "Karen," he said, his voice booming, "we review the HOA bylaws, and what you did isn't just unethical. It's a violation of state theft laws." Silence. Karen froze. "Effective immediately, you are removed from the HOA board." The room erupted. Some people cheered, others laughed, and Karen? She jumped up, shrieking, "You can't do this. I've done more for this community than any of you." Mr. Callahan didn't blink. "Actually, we can. And unless you want the police involved, I'd suggest you return anything still in your possession." Boom. That was the final blow. Karen stormed out of the room, furious, while the entire neighborhood watched in satisfaction. By the next morning, Karen had returned every single stolen package, mine included. But she couldn't handle the humiliation. Within a month, a for sale sign popped up in her yard. Karen moved out. And just like that, our neighborhood was finally Karen-free. Even though Karen was officially removed from the HOA board and completely humiliated, she wasn't done yet. Because before she finally left the neighborhood for good, she just had to take one last petty shot at everyone. A few days after the HOA meeting disaster, people in the neighborhood started finding notes in their mailboxes. At first, I thought it was just some HOA notice. But when I pulled mine out and opened it, I nearly burst out laughing. It was a handwritten letter from Karen. And it was glorious. "To my ungrateful neighbors, I have dedicated myself to improving this community, and how do you repay me? By turning on me like a pack of wild animals. I was only looking out for the best interests of this neighborhood, but clearly some of you don't appreciate order and structure. I hope you enjoy the chaos that follows in my absence. Don't come crying to me when property values drop and crime takes over. Good luck, you'll need it. Sincerely, Karen. I couldn't stop laughing. It was so perfectly Karen. Even after getting exposed as a package thief, publicly humiliated, and kicked off the HOA board, she still saw herself as the victim. Turns out, I wasn't the only one who got the letter. Everyone did. And the reactions. Absolutely priceless. One neighbor framed it and hung it in his garage. Another printed copies and handed them out at the next HOA meeting. Someone even joked about selling Karen's goodbye letter on eBay. Even Mr. Callahan, the HOA president, cracked a smile when people brought it up at the next meeting. I suppose we'll just have to survive without her wisdom, he said, deadpan. With Karen finally gone, the neighborhood felt completely different. No more mystery package thefts. No more random finds. No more power tripping and nonsense. For the first time in a long time, the HOA actually started focusing on things that mattered, like fixing sidewalks, upgrading the community pool, and, not stealing from people. As for me, I upgraded my security system, just in case another Karen ever tried something. But so far, it's been blissfully peaceful. This whole insane ordeal taught me a few things. Some people just can't admit they're wrong. Even when caught on camera, Karen still played the victim. Classic Karen behavior. If something feels off, trust your gut. I knew something was weird when only my expensive packages disappeared. Always investigate. Bullies only win if no one stands up to them. The moment the neighborhood fought back, Karen lost everything. Petty revenge is sometimes the most satisfying kind. Watching Karen panic, get removed, and eventually move out? Absolutely worth it. At the end of the day, Karen thought she could control everything. She thought she could get away with stealing, lying, and bossing people around. But instead, she lost her power, her reputation, and her home. And honestly, the neighborhood has never been better. And that, my friends, is how Karen's package-stealing empire crumbled right before her eyes. What do you think? Have you ever had to deal with a nosy, power-hungry HOA Karen like this? Or even worse, a neighbor who steals? Share your craziest HOA or revenge stories in the comments below. I'd love to hear them. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like this video to keep the HOA Karens away. Subscribe to Tailflow for more wild HOA and revenge stories. Hit that notification bell so you never miss a new episode of HOA Chaos. Thanks for watching, and remember, if your packages start disappearing, check your security cameras and maybe your HOA president. See you in the next one.